it's Friday, la 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 la. It's Friday, la 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 la.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this Friday episode of the Build Your Vision podcast. Now, on today's episode, I want to address something that's kind of been on my mind for a little while, especially of late, and it's about reading. And I think this has been just in my face so much because of, social media and everything that I'm seeing on the interwebs. But reading seems to be like at an all-time high. I don't know if that's really true, but as far as visibility of people reading, it seems like it's at an all-time high. And it's greatly due to social media. I mean, reading in the business, education, entrepreneurial space has for some reason become quite popular. I mean, in other spaces too. And I think it's cool to say that you've read 500 books a year, 500 books a week, 500 books in a day, a book an hour, whatever it is, these like obscene numbers of, oh, I'm reading, I'm doing something. And reading is great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like things are kind of being taken out of a realistic picture of what reading is and how it should be done. The object isn't to read books, it's to get information or to have a pastime or have an experience. It's not about how many books you read or being accountable for how many books you read or things like that. And I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying. Reading is amazing. If you're keeping each other accountable or trying to get other people to read, I think that's great. But I don't want people to get it twisted. They're looking from the outside. Now, reading has always been fun for me, especially nonfiction, because I read to learn things. I read to get new information. But to be honest, I really am not that great of a reader. Don't get me wrong, I can fluently read, but I'm not good at speed reading, or I'm not a reading ninja. I can't read a book in a minute, whatever some people are doing out here. Really, I'm a really slow reader, and if you see my SAT scores, that it will clearly reflect that. I have a short attention span, like my interest changes very quickly, and it takes me a while to comprehend and digest concepts quite often. You might not know that, but it takes me time to really absorb information. And also, I fall asleep a lot while being still for too long. It's just a part of how I am. You could blame technology. I don't know. But when I stay still for like a really long time, I just get sleepy. I'm sure other people can identify with that. But yet, I have read hundreds of books, and reading is one of my favorite pastimes. Now, how, you might ask, if I'm such a bad reader or such a not good reader? It's because I read for me. That means I read based on my tendencies, my interests, my strengths, and my weaknesses. Stop trying to read like everyone else is basically what I'm trying to say. Stop trying to match how many books you could read in a month or do whatever it is. It's not a challenge. You have to read for you. You are not Bill Gates. You are not Warren Buffett. Stop it. Here are some tips that I use to be an effective reader. Effective is the key word. Now, I know some people might disagree with me on this, but I'm putting it first just to get all the naysayers out the way. If you want to stop listening once you hear this tip, you could go ahead and leave if you don't like it. But I think you should stay tuned in because there's some ones following this that aren't as controversial, but I think this is a good tip anyway. I read multiple books at the same time. Not literally like multiple books at the same time. I don't have 8 eyes, but I can read, even right now, I'm reading 3 books during the same time frame. I don't restrict myself to reading just one book. Now, remember, I said effective tips, not efficient. If you have to decide what to prioritize, the quality of your reading or the quantity, I think quality is always more important, in my opinion. I read books the same way I listen to music, based on my mood. I never force myself to read a certain book because I should be reading the book. If I want to get hype, I listen to Travis Scott rap music. If I want to get harmony, I listen to Jacob Collier. If I want to feel spiritually in tune, I listen to Hillsong. In the same way, if I want to challenge my thinking, I read The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. If I want to learn about people and behavior, I'll read Devon Franklin, Truth About Men. If I want to feel inspirational read or entertaining story, I'll read Becoming Michelle Obama. This makes reading a sought-after experience rather than a check-off the book challenge list or whatever it is some people might be doing, or it might look like some people are doing. You learn more, you take everything in, and most importantly, you're enjoying what you're doing. Tip number 2 is that I actively read. Active reading means reading something with the determination to understand and evaluate it for its relevance to your needs. Some people go overboard with the active reading thing and write an exposition on every point that the author makes. Do not, I repeat, do not do this. It's distracting and it's ineffective. That's like trying to write down every word your professor says. It isn't efficient and it's hard to digest the information after the fact when the professor is done. It's just like a whole bunch of words and it has no type of coherence. I use 2 tools while reading, a pen and a highlighter, and I use both sparingly. I use the pen to write down an idea or thought that was sparked when I was reading, and I just don't want to forget what I thought about. And I use the highlighter to mark the main point or concept of each section of the book. This can be used for mainly nonfiction. Pretty much not fiction at all. That doesn't really make sense. Most nonfiction books are broken up into sections beyond the chapters. At the end of every section, just quickly ask yourself, what did I learn from this section? What was the main point? And highlight it. When you first start, you'll really surprise yourself by how many times you will look back and not even know what you just read. It forces you to comprehend the information and not blindly go through pages and then looking back and not being able to tell somebody what the chapter was about. Okay, so tip 3. When I am finished with the book, I revise my highlighted points. It's like reading the cliff notes of the book, but I wrote them. It reinforces the important parts in your mind, and you can write notes and expound freely without breaking the flow of your reading. This is how you make the information stick. Well, that's actually it. That's the 3 main points I use while reading. I hope you enjoyed those tips and can apply it to your reading life. But what I just want you to remember is that reading is not a challenge or a chore. It's a privilege. Some people don't even know how to read. So the fact that you can, it should be taken seriously and should be taken as a privilege and an enjoyment process rather than a challenge. Now, I do challenge you to read books, but I challenge you to also do it in this effective manner. Don't just try to breeze through books because that doesn't do anything for you except waste your time. Appreciate it, guys. If you like this episode and want to share it with somebody, please do. Show me that you are listening. Tag us at Build Your Vision Pod on Instagram. Screenshot the episode on your phone. Put it on your story. And I'll love to see it. Until next time on Tuesday, keep building your vision every day. Peace.
Hey guys, Clee here. Thanks so much for listening to the Build Your Vision podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would think you did if you stayed all the way to the end. The best thing that you could do to help support this show is by sharing it with somebody. By you just taking a few seconds to recommend this show to somebody, you are making a huge impact, not only on the success of this show, but possibly on that person's life.